The nursery cam blinked back after 7 silent minutes, and there I was on the floor with 2 6-month-olds tucked under my arms and a streak of blood sliding across a rug I had just cleaned. The porcelain moon lamp in pieces, my sleeve torn, where a fist found bone and a shadow moving in the mirror like it owned the room. You feel your heart step out of your body in a moment like that, you really do. My name is Janelle. I didn't see the feed in real time because I was face down counting Avery and Miles's breaths like matches in the wind. But across town, the man who owned the house, Colin Mercer, saw everything, and he did what even rich men do when fear finally finds them in a hotel hallway at 2 a.m. He ran barefoot. He yelled into 911. He drove through rain like the road belonged to him. I come from a rental off Fort Cavazos, my dad. Staff Sergeant Carter taught me how to stand a stance and not give ground. When the world leans, how to fix a sticky door with a butter knife. How fear burns hot, but steadiness burns longer. You know what I mean? People who hire you to fold towels rarely want your story. So I kept mine folded tight, showed up quiet, warmed bottles to body temp, tucked swaddles like flags, and hummed off key until those babies learned to laugh more than cry. The house had been a fortress since Colin's wife walked out with money and a single note on the counter that said, "This is not the life I wanted, cameras everywhere. Gate codes like bank vaults. Staff cut to the bone, a silence that had weight." That night the hallway clicked, not loud, just the sound you excuse if you want to be lazy, and I was not in a lazy mood. I stepped out, and a tall man in a gray windbreaker was already inside. He looked at the nursery door, the way thieves look at fruit stands. I took the frame with my shoulder and braced. He smiled like he practiced it in a mirror. "She sent me," he said, friendly as a salesman. I saw his hands, then a green glint near his shoe when the porch light cut through the blinds. I didn't know it yet, but it was an emerald cufflink, the kind you lock in a velvet box when a marriage ends. Fights in real life go messy fast. He punched the door. I gave him a knuckle of wood trim for his teeth. He caught my sleeve, and I dropped a heel on his wrist and felt cartilage shift. Then he clipped me across the temple, and the world went thin, ringing, and white. I folded over. Those kids stayed still and watched his shoes move past. As the door breathed open, "Tell her I got what she wanted," he said toward the ceiling, like he was speaking to a camera only he could see. I woke up under hospital lights that hate everyone equally, a mild concussion, a shoulder sprain. The babies, fine because I was stupid and brave in the same minute. That's what the nurse said the detective was. Sergeant Rosa Delgado eyes like she had heard lies and waited out the truth more times than she could count. "Walk me through it slow," she said, so I did. When I got to the part where he spoke to the air, she nodded, like a math problem solved inside information. Someone knew your hidden camera layout. Someone with a map or a memory. We didn't say the ex-wife's name, we didn't have to. "The cufflink in the evidence bag," said Vivian Blake, "like a necklace you can't take off." And yeah, that happened. Colin showed up looking like a man who wants to buy back the second he didn't see coming. He thanked me without touching me like I was a violin in a museum. Then he asked me to come back when I was cleared. I told him. "I don't leave babies midweek," he looked down and said. He changed the service gate code. My birthday, it should have felt sweet. It felt like a man learning how to say, "I see you," without those words. The thing that cracked the case wasn't a smart cam. It was a dumb one. An old analog at the service gate feeding a dusty screen in a shed. The last gardener refused to replace the man in gray. Had looked up by habit. The lens looked down and gave us a profile. Delgado pulled a name, Dax. Rowan, a professional who steals from people who think security is a lifestyle. Text chains tied him to Vivian. The word she used for the estate was the vault. which told me exactly what I needed to know about what she missed. When she left, it wasn't love, it was control. I went back to work slower than usual, a sling, a headache that hummed. Those kids were fine, and that made my body remember how to heal at 5 a.m. I watched Colin feed Miles with a bottle tucked in his elbow like he was diffusing a bomb. Grief changes a man, fatherhood changes him more. He started listening. Leave the nursery. Door cracked so they hear someone breathing, I said. Fix the obvious cameras, but leave one. You don't brag about people who need attention. Always talk to lenses, he nodded. And for the first time, the house felt less like a bunker and more like a place where a kid might learn what safe sounds like, not silent, but steady. We didn't catch Vivian by accident. We set a table and wrote her name on the place card. Delgado leaked the right rumor to the right ears. Colin stepping down from his company for family reasons, whispers of a former partner. Returning vanity is gravity if you know how to aim it. The estate looked calm from the street, and like backstage inside, Delgado's team kept low. Colin took the twins to the safe room because pride loses to diapers when you're doing it right. I walked the hallway with the framed photographs, because I knew which ones Vivian would stop at to feel like she still mattered. There's one where she's laughing on a lawn, like money can teach you joy, one where Colin holds Avery like he never met fear yet. I stood at the end and waited. Vivian didn't rush, she glided black coat hair, slick that sharp paper cut, smile, she saw me and smirked. Still here, she said, still standing, I said. You think you've won, she said, and lifted a phone instead of a gun. With one tap, I erase what he has left. Backups. Accounts, your little safety nets, she said. You're like I was a type, not a person. I nodded at her hand. You already did that part now. Smile, you're live, Delgado's voice warmed the tiny speaker tucked under my hair. Two plain clothes stepped in, clean. Vivian's eyes went flat. The sound in the room changed. Like the air realized who it belonged to, she dropped the phone. Rights were read like a prayer. And for a second, I felt a small ache for a woman who never learned how to carry anyone but herself. After that, you'd expect fireworks. But winning felt like quiet grilled cheese on the stove, coffee where it should be a guardian document, slid across a counter with my name on it. Because trust is louder when it's written down. I said yes, doing what eyes do. We were not out of the woods, though. That's not how life works. 2 nights later, the east fence lit up the cameras, found Dax under the old oak swing, not charging the house, just watching. He stood there, soaked, smaller than his file security lights. Hit his face and he ran. Officers grabbed him near a bus depot, and he folded fast. Burner apps, access codes, a fixer named Ivy Cole, who makes absence for a living. He kept saying, she promised me a future, like a boy who wanted a gold star and never got one. You hear that kind of hunger, and you understand how people get used like tools. The envelope showed up a week later, slipped under the front door, a photo of me holding Avery outside the bookstore, too close for comfort. Replaceable on the back, in neat little type. Delgado picked it up with 2 fingers, like it might bite. Not Vivian, she said, too many eyes on her. This is private work. Ivy or someone like her, we tightened the circle without locking the world. That's the trick, keep living, keep laughing, but don't pretend the wind can't shift. My dad used to say, a storm doesn't change who you are. It just reveals your joints. Before the arraignment, Vivian asked to see Colin. I stood in the hall and listened to the shape of it through glass. You always needed someone to rescue you, she said. I needed someone to stay, he answered. She's not a wife, Vivian bit. She's a mother when it counts, he said. And you can hear a man grow up in a single sentence if you listen. The judge gave her 6 years. She'll serve less. Dax took a deal. Ivy did what fixers do and disappeared into fog. Some of you will call that broken. Some will call it the price of doing business, when business is people. I don't run the system. I run bottles at 3 a.m. and make choices I can explain to a child later without looking away. The thing that finally felt like victory wasn't a headline. It was Sunday morning chaos, flour on the counter, like snow. Avery drumming a wooden spoon, Miles chewing a spatula like it owed him money. Colin burned a pancake and we all laughed. The house didn't feel like a fortress anymore. It felt like a place with scratches on the banister and a song in the air. If you're waiting for a perfect bow, I don't have one. Peace breathes. Then it holds its breath again. One afternoon, the doorbell rang, and no one was there, just a tiny pager in a padded mailer with a single number preloaded, old school, untraceable. Delgado cracked it and shrugged. Some people don't want your money or your apology. They want the last word. I poured her the good coffee and said, "Let them talk. We'll be busy raising kids." She laughed for the first time in weeks and said, "Deal, and that's where I'll leave you. Not with a fairy tale, but with a life still lived on purpose, a house that learned how to be a home, a man who chose to stay, and a woman. People used to look past, who refused to become invisible again. If this hit you in the chest, tell me. Why do you think Vivian's sentence was justice or a joke? Have you seen Class and Last Names? Tilt the table. What does fairness look like when the damage is trust not money drop? Where you're watching from, argue with me or tell me your version of this story. And if you believe like I do that the people who stay are the real legacy,